Hi, welcome back. Thank you for clicking, and welcome to another edition of Case Files. I'm reading today the amended complaint from Blake Lively. It's a lot more detailed about the PR strategy they had. I didn't read all of it. It is a long document. I was reading the other one out, so I've read most of the document, but most of it I can't tell or say on YouTube because I'm sick of my view count being down, and moreover, I'm going to speak a little bit more slower, not swear. It's going to be hard for me, and I appreciate everyone for sticking around and basically trusting me as someone to view and to respect that I'm putting this out there for the benefits of awareness, to not allow a system to be corrupt by billionaires and sniping politicians out to change, the dynamics of society. And we've grown into this society where we all sort of hate one another, and it's very painful to see. And I don't get paid for these videos. I've never got paid for any of my human ones because I'm a swearing or I've done something inappropriate. I've never ever really did a video without going and and I've done that because I'm not getting paid for this, but I will try to conduct my grammar and how I speak a little bit more respectful so that you as a viewer can understand. But please, 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 please like the video, please, because I have got no views and I've been on here 7 months now, and I'm a channel about injustice. I target cases based on that, really. These sort of grip me a lot. I'll name a couple that I've felt were unjust. The Daybell case. I've the human case. There's a lot more to that one. The Bitroff case, and I've gone through a few on Puff Daddy now. Up to now, I think I've done about 30 videos on that. I have got an extension on playlist about Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds court case against Boldoni. I just want to declare now that everything that I've read and everything that I have said so far has come from case notes. It's not come from media. It's from the courthouse. Okay. I've got nothing. I've got no agenda. I'm no bot. I'm not paid PR. I'm not a fan of Blake Lively or Ryan Reynolds. Actually, I don't really like Ryan Reynolds as an actor. That's because I'm just a bit more of a sci-fi buff. So I'm not, in that sense, beguiled by any of that. What I have realised in this case, and it's a big, big factor in this, despite what we all feel for Blake Lively, is that there's a PR campaign going on, and there is. And she's explained it to a T, how in this case that how he's manipulated it all, using text messagings without going through the court procedure and things like that to do that. He's just basically put all that out there for everyone. he's 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 not likable person. I'm not being rude. I just don't. I find him pretty sleazy. And his friend Jamie Heath, like there's been a few weird things that I've seen him in. Take this for instance. I mean, it's not my cup of tea, being soppy and things like that. And I find it's always a hidden thing that that people like this do on the sly. They come across and they preach, 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 but underneath there's a darkness that if the button's pushed or you say no, he reacts like this. I'll be honest. I've been through abuse of that nature, and people like that don't see they've done anything wrong. That's what we need to understand. From his point of view, he's not made her feel uncomfortable or wrong, but we are realising that. I mean, the allegations alone, I can't say on YouTube, but they're very inappropriate. I have spoke a bit about them. There's a part in the film where the character's young, I mean about 15, 16, and she's playing an inappropriate love scene, basically with, for the first time making love, and he makes a sleazy remark about, oh, did you practice beforehand, you know, and then there was another person who felt uncomfortable around him as well. You see, I'm not that easily convinced, and I don't hate women like with a passion. I actually advocate for women, even though I've had a lot of painful experiences with my own kind in the past. I advocate for women. This channel does, as we advocate on this channel for justice and answers. We're not here to save people. We're just here to spread the word, basically. That will save a lot of people's lives. Talking about abuse does save lives. I perfectly agree with that. But I don't think the film has any any anything relating to the actual feelings of being in a relationship like that. It doesn't convey them any slight. And unfortunately, if he's been through domestic violence, then he would understand it a lot more. But Blake hasn't. As an actress, she should have read the book. He should have made sure she read the book. As a director, clearly he was just so beguiled by her. He just didn't ask her to read the book. He just complained that she didn't understand it. She had all that time. She could have read the book. I mean, she clearly didn't realise that and she probably got someone else to read the book for her. Why not? I mean, as long as she knows what's in the book, that's all that's relevant. It doesn't matter if she's read the book or not. A lot of actors don't read the actual books, like Lord of the Rings and things like that, But, that's why there's 2 Lord of the Ring books. You know what I mean? There's different story. Yeah, it's a totally different story, actually, but it's like June. That's a different story. There's a lot of people who won't read books like that. It's funny how he's reading a book about stuff like that. Does he find like 50 Shades of Grey a turn on as well? Because that's the type of glamorization that you're doing there. It's on that league of, it's not even like sensual as 50 Shades. It's actually disgusting to me, you know. Like, who would really want to, as a woman, be in a relationship like that? Have a film that hits close to home, and that's telling you to stay. It's a story of hope. It's a story of absolute denial and delusion. You know, it's the type of delusion that you need to talk about in the story rather than put that in the film. Yeah, but you never. It's a totally different narrative that you've gone with as well. So this is according to Blake's cold case hearing. I don't know a solicitor's name, a lawyer's name, but who's drafted this, as mentioned. You know, nothing about her not knowing about the book. He clearly knows what's in the book and what's not in the book. There's elements of the love scenes that he put in himself. You know, all the like very graphic ones that I can't really mention because I'm trying to change my channel. But you have to read the document yourself and then come to your own conclusion. Please don't just take my word for it. I'll put the link in the my draft. I hope you don't mind me putting my art up. I just thought something as well, visually, as well as me reading this, I can understand how tedious it is to understand these notes. And I just best explain what's been in there. I'll read you sections out as well, obviously. And we'll go through what the bits I haven't gone through. But I just wanted to show you something. Mrs. Nathan is a crisis management, like a PR management team. And she's been the one putting things out since the launch. And basically, she's bragging in these text messages how well it's gone. You know, how the narrative's been pushed. Justin Baldoni wants it as pushed as bad as like Hailey Bieber bullying women, you know, that type of narrative. He wanted that type of narrative for her, and she went to the town for it, you know. She got loads of video because it is easy to just sort of make videos of people being abrupt. You know, I could do that with anybody, even the people that make videos about her are very judgmental, but they just don't listen to themselves. You know, they like really preachy and forthright with the whole movement of how they think. You know, you have the due diligence to comment back, you know, on the video and say if you read the court notes and you get pointed out for your grammar, you know, they're really not interested in pushing the right stuff, the truth, you know, the truth. And I am sort of dreading reading this all out, I've got to be honest, but I suppose that's what I'm here for. So I'm just going to try and be as dramatic as I can with the court notes, but don't take that as like I am not, you know, but as I say, a lot of this has just been rehashed. I'm not saying all of it, because there's 141 pages in this one. So clearly there's been a lot more added to this document, and if we let big, huge billionaire companies just take over actors and build narratives out of people and ruin people's lives, that's just not what a free society is to me, you know? Because she's not likable, it doesn't mean you should ruin her life. Come on now, it's not very fair, is it? And you the likes out there don't give a shit, really don't. And it's not that I care about Blake Lively, it's the fact that these people are huge, and as this document says, he's standing behind his billionaire best mate to do all his financial fighting, you know, against racism, against fucking women who, sorry I swore, against women who have an element of thinking he's creepy. And there's texts here saying that these girls thought he was creepy, you know. So I find it difficult to, sorry I'm taking so long, but I will read it out. I'll read it out from the introduction. I think that's page, what are we up to here? I think I read up to page 19. They mention new people from Sony in this one as well. How that people went to Sony to speak, not to Wayfarer, because it knew it was a waste of time. She had a meeting, and this is where I'm going to start it from, because this is when she hands the document over to him. According to him, that's the first he hears about any of this, which is proper bullshit, really, because she proves that anyway in this document with the timestamps. Also, I'm convinced she's not put timestamps in some of them just because of the way he's sort of sliding this message and this narrative, and it's sneaky and slimy, and I think it's disgusting treating women this way. He's no feminist. And no man bun is going to tell me like that a woman can't speak up. You know, a woman's not allowed to feel uncomfortable in your presence. Maybe you should work on that and stop and think. Maybe you're no good and you're deluded, and full of yourself, and humble yourself a bit, and think that you're attacking a actress who hasn't got as much money as you with another person's money, because you couldn't conduct yourself accordingly. And this is your second complaint since 2020 you started House. So what's that saying, you know? So on the 31st of July, as we can see here, this is like 5 days before the event, the public event of the film premiere. And what Boldoni does, he gets a public crisis manager, and they deliver a proposal to Boldoni, and it's all documented through websites based on Reddit, on social accounts, engaging with the audience. They start theories with it and things like that, to discuss what they could possibly do about it. Because that she must have given this note in before then, or was it after? No, January 4th. So she passed that in January 4th. He must have shit his pants on the 31st of July, got a crisis team in, and set foot on the narrative, what he's putting out there. I'm not saying Blake Lively is an innocent bystander. I'm saying what he's done is wrong. He has been misconduct. Has put misconduct. He has made people feel uncomfortable, not just her. He's got form. That's all I can say on YouTube. The other cast members contemporaneously observed Mr. Boldoni pivot as it was happening. For example, a female cast member laminated to Miss Lively in a text on August 10th of 2024 that Mr. Boldoni's marketing pivot was jeopardizing the success of the film. They opened that pivot would not work because would eventually come out that Mr. Boldoni was using domestic violence commentary to cover his own behaviour, and also the film is glamorising and his character and everything like that. It's so wooden and so bizarre. I'll have to just put it up. And we'll observe together. It's worth paying the dumbass money for it. What the public also did not know was that this was a beginning of a multi-tiered plan that Mr. Boldoni and his team described as a social manipulation designed to destroy Mrs. Lively's reputation. That plan was backed by virtually unlimited resources. Wayfair's co-founder, co-chairman and leading financier is a multi-billionaire, Steven Sharowitz, who divulged to a witness at the film New York premiere on August 6th, 2024, that he was prepared to spend $100 million to ruin the lives of Miss Lively and her family, and also the likes of me who probably will speak out. That was not the only time Mr. Sharowitz made such a threat. Later in August 2024, even though the film had turned out very well, and Wayfair had made a lot of money on it, Mr. Sharowitz confessed to another witness and an individual who worked at Wayfair on an unrelated project that if Miss Lively or Mr. Reynolds ever cross the line, then I will go after them. I declare I will protect the studio like Israel protected itself from Hamas. There were 39,000 dead bodies. There will be 2 dead bodies when I'm done, minimum. Not dead, but you're dead to me. So that kind of dead, but dead to a lot of people. If they ever get to me, to that point, then I make it worth their while, because I'm going to spend a lot of money to make sure the studio's protected. Maybe he shouldn't, and maybe he should do something else, because it's clear that this is not working out. Supported by Sharowitz's financial backing and multi-terroristic worldview, 8 in the footnote. When asked about this comment, Mr. Sharowitz's counsel confirmed that his client is prepared to spend money, whatever necessary, to defend Boldoni, Wayfarer Studios, and himself. Monica Hunter Hart, meet the little-known billionaire caught up in the Boldoni Lively scandal. Forbes, January 7, 2025. I mean, it's like, glamorizing billionaires to defend this man. You're taken. I'll be honest, right? When your family go out in the world and earn money, and they make it look like she has, right? And they pay taxes, and maybe more taxes than billionaires do. And you're doing that to somebody who who should be able to make a wage, pay for her bills and her company, and not have to worry about a lawsuit at the end of it, you know? And everyone's ganging up on Blake Lively. It's bizarre. It really is. It really is to me. What's happened to our society where we're patting people like this on the back? Mr. Boldoni and his Wayfair associates embarked on a sophisticated press and digital plan in retaliation for Mrs. Lively. He's the type to go after people's kids. He's the type to go after people's families if they've got any type of life. He's just not a happy individual. But at the end of the day, speaking about feminism and doing films like this is not the appropriate answer. You need probably to sit down and find a therapist, perhaps, yeah, like this man does. Embarked on a sophisticated press retaliation for Mrs. Lively, exercising her legal protected right to speak up about their misconduct on set. When the additional objective of intimidating her and anyone else from revealing in public what actually occurred. On the 31st of 2024, when the crisis team happened, Jennifer Abel Boldoni retained crisis communications. Nathan delivered proposal to Boldoni, which included a website to discuss the full Reddit details and theories and everything. This plan went beyond standard PR. What Mr. Nathan proposed includes a practice known as astroturfing, which has been defined as a practice of publishing opinions or comments on the internet, in the media, etc., that appear to come from ordinary members of the public, but actually come from a particular company or political group. And that's very true. There's so many. It's so unreal. 10. This clause says, Mrs. Lively obtained the communications that set forth in her original complaint through legal process, including the civil subpoena served on Jones Work LLC. In statement to the media, the public filing in this course, certain of the defendants and their counsel have baselessly claimed that Mrs. Lively or her counsel engaged in criminal alteration of these materials. That is false. Jones Work produced the communications to Miss Lively in connection with our lawful subpoena. Oh, so to get all these text messages, I see, and documents. The documents included within the complaint are attached in the format in which they are produced and subject to the subpoena, with limited redactions of names and telephone numbers to protect third-party privacy. At all times, Miss Lively has understood the produced documents and communications to have been lawfully obtained, according to her, maintained and produced by Jones Works. Miss Lively included all experts of communications as produced, on which, for example, the absence of text emojis in the production format. So when she was like putting like the thing probably about the Game of Thrones, she probably threw in a laughing emoji or two, and they've discounted that. That's astroturfing. That's astroturfing in the production format. Images such as emojis, when available in a preserved screenshot, for example, were attached as produced. Astroturfing, the definition. Astroturfing is the deceptive practice of hiding sponsors of an orchestrated message or organisation, political, advertising, religious or public relations, to make it appear as though it originates from and is supported by unsolicited grassroots participants. It is a practice intended to give the statements of organisations credibility by withholding information about the sources of financial backers. On the 2nd of August of 2024, TAG, the whole team, the crisis team, circulated a scenario planning document to Mr. Boldoni, Mr. Heath and others, which describe preparations of strategy should Miss Lively and her team make a grievance public. Right. The scenario planning document, in brackets, and it's attached here to Exhibit D, to get ahead of this narrative, brackets, as Mrs. Nathan's plan proposed strategies to advance misleading counter-narratives, including pushing Mrs. Nathan's narrative that Mrs. Lively had less than favourable reputation. And listen to this, the facade he puts up, but then he texts this crisis managing PR lady, right? And he was saying to her, "This is what we need," and he texts her this with I can't remember, Justin Bieber's wife, Hailey Bieber. That type of narrative where she's been bullying women and next thing that sort of narrative, and she's encouraging him, with it as well. She replies, "Yes, I literally just spoke to Melissa about this on the break about what we discussed last night for social and digital. Focus on Reddit, TikTok and IG." So she's telling him to do that narrative, and she's doing this narrative. Mrs. Abel responded that she had just spoke to Melissa about this, about what we discussed last night for social and digital. Mrs. Abel added, "He's just referencing everything I've said." And then the weeks passed, and this is all planting outside in the media, how rude she is, how blah blah, how she promoting the film. And it's all his plan, really. His narrative was to promote the film, it was a story of hope. He says to her, it's not a story of domestic violence, it's a story of hope, and he's implanted this into her brain, and she's gone along with it, Blake Lively, to the T, and he's then backtracked on the premiere night and changed his whole narrative and everything. It's so obvious when you read everything. Boldoni's Wayfarer team would then feed pieces of this manufactured content to unwritten reporters, helping to make content go viral in order to influence public opinion and thereby a cause of organic pylon. To safeguard against the risk of Miss Lively ever revealing the truth about Boldoni, the Boldoni Wayfarer team created, planted, amplified and boosted content designed to eviscerate Mrs. Lively's credibility. They engaged in the same techniques to bolster Mr. Boldoni's credibility and suppress any negative content about him, especially about the racism. On the 10th of August, that day after the film release, Mrs. Nathan's team reported that they had started to see a shift on social due largely to Jed and his team's efforts to shift the narrative against Miss Lively. Miss Jennifer Abel confirms, "Hi, team. So far, extremely limited pickup on the Daily Mail and page 6. This is on the 10th of August. We'll continue to keep an eye out and send pieces as needed, but so far it's been steady coverage on pure speculation. We've also started to see a shift on social, due largely to Jed and his team's efforts to shift the narrative towards sharing a spotlight on Blake and Ryan. Again, we'll continue to send links and screenshots, but want to send an update in the meantime. Like this girl and the other girl work together, as the crisis team." That same day, Mrs. Nathans noted that as part of this shift, the majority of socials are pro-Justin, and I don't even agree with half of them. Lol. She says in a text message exchange again, the majority of socials are pro-Justin, and I don't even agree with half of them, and laugh, because she knows them, obviously. Later, the same text conversation. See, we don't know him at all. What we see on a podcast isn't knowing someone. You don't know me. You don't know anything about my life. I could be an awful human being. You don't know that. So you don't make judgments on people, good or bad. Because that's what they want. They want us all to be as bigoted as them, to have left and right, not to think of our own way of feeling about it, and we're our own mind up for it, because no one's got the time for this type of bull in their life, unless they're really bored, you know what I mean? And it seems a lot of people are consuming this content, this narrative. Someone's based a whole channel around it, and I've seen nearly 600 videos. Honestly, it was sickening. It's a sickness because it's bullying. It's also victim shaming. Yeah, I don't understand it. Mr. Wallace and his team had causing Mrs. Abel to conclude that Mrs. Lively deserved what was happening on social media because she had unfollowed Mr. Boldoni on social media and declined to do publicity with him. This is what it was basically over, I feel, because everyone unfollowed him apparently because of that. Because he's putting this narrative out there and they knew about it. That's why they're keeping shum about it. So she says to Jennifer, Nathan says to Abel, and socials are really, really ramping up. And then she sends another one in his favour. She must be furious. It's actually sad because it just shows how people really want to hate on women. This is what she said in a text message to a team member. I'll read it out again. It's actually sad because it just shows you have people really want to hate on women. And it is true. It's true. I know it's sad. But then she says, but like, don't be a cunt. That cold about it. She fucked herself by doing the unfollow thing and insisting no photos together. That's criminating that in itself there. You know, this PR woman has defamation written all over her, okay? Defendants have admitted that on August 12, 2024, in the midst of a massive sentiment shift on social media that was engulfing Mrs. Lively and others with a flood of negative comments, Wayfarer was asked to issue a statement to help correct the situation by accepting accountability for the production it oversaw. But rather than doing so, Mrs. Nathan advised that issuing such statements would be a career killer for Mr. Boldoni, who she urged to lawyer up and fight. Then, less than a week later, they again bragged about how they had shut down stories regarding HR complaints on set. 5 of them as well, you know. On August 15, 2024, Miss Nathan remarked that this went so well, it was genius. So, okay, we have 4 major standing down on HR complaints. So they're standing down from the complaints. Wonder why? Because they've been paid off. Okay. So she puts in the text, this is what she actually says. Jen, this went so well, I'm fucking dying. I have call you later in a bit and tell you how this went. It was genius. So okay, we have 4 major standing downs on HR complaints. I think we are fine on that bit. As their own words reveal, the purpose of this social manipulation plan was twofold. It aimed to both A. conceal a pattern of harassment and other misconduct by Mr. Boldoni, Mr. Heath and Wayfarer, and B. retaliate against Miss Lively by battering her image, harming her business, and causing her and her family severe emotional harm. Millions of people, including any reporters and influencers who saw these planted stories, social media posts, and other online content, had no idea they were unwitting consumers of a crisis PR, astroturfing, and digital retaliation campaign created, funded by Mr. Boldoni, Wayfarer to mishear Miss Lively. That is precisely the goal of astroturfing campaign, to light a fire and continue to stoke conversations secretly, blurring the line between authentic manufactured content. That's a bit like what is podcasts like, and creating viral public takedowns. It's very pretentious, this website. Very pretentious, this podcast.